It is spring 2024 and it's time for another nature walk. We're in Melbourne in Australia, and this is a section of green parkland that's following one of the local creeks right in the middle of the suburbs. Let's have a walk and see what we can find. There is a lot of these nature trails right throughout Melbourne, and it is an area where the city has done a lot of work to bring some habitat back for native species, particularly to travel along these corridors where populations can meet and also come often quite deep into the suburbs of a very large city. So we're going to get away from the road as we travel along this walking trail, and the car noises will slowly disappear, and it's surprising how quickly that you can only hear the wind in the leaves and the various insects and bird sounds. So as we trek along this trail, we're going to hear more and more of the sounds of nature. There is a lot of Australian wildlife living in places just like this, but you'll usually not see many of them most of the time. In the middle of the day, when it gets quite warm, you will often see snakes and lizards that may come to the edges of these walking trails to bask, but they're often quite shy of coming out too far in the open for fear of being eaten by birds. So you might see snakes, but even if you don't see them, believe me, there's plenty there. In the very early morning and at dusk, it's possible you'll find eastern grey kangaroos and even wombats wandering down some of these local green corridors. Most Australian animals tend to be active in early morning and late evening, so in the middle of the day you won't see many animals at all. You may hear birds, a lot of birds, but often hard to see them amongst the trees. They're not usually coming down too far to the ground, they're staying well up in the canopy of the trees for safety. Again, when it gets to dusk, other animals that come out in places like this are possums and owls. There are very large populations of possums right throughout the cities of Australia. They've taken to living in urban areas really well, but animals you generally won't see in the daytime, you'll only see them at night. These local creeks and streams are usually full of the imported noxious gambusia, the western mosquito fish, which is a live bearer which is taken to Australia probably as badly as rabbits. Rabbits in the land and gambusia in the water. Pests everywhere. This is quite a quick walk along this path, so I'm not really expecting to see too many special animals. If you have more time and you spend a few hours in places like this, there is a very good chance you will find some pretty special creatures sitting in branches or even close to the walking path itself. But in Australia you need time to be in these places to let the creatures come to you, because they normally are pretty sensitive to the sound of people walking. They tend to disappear into the undergrowth, and even though they're there, you won't see them. There are two of the most extraordinary Australian animals living on this planet today, the echidna and the platypus, which can both be found in places like this. The echidna normally pretty easily, because they're not shy in the daytime of coming out and being wherever they want to be, because they're covered in these spines, fully protected, and all the foxes, cats and dogs don't give them any grief at all, because they can just roll up into a ball, protect themselves with those spines, and they're pretty fearless. So you will see echidnas quite often in these sort of places. The platypus is harder to see, harder to find, but as the waterways have been cleaned and rehabilitated over time, the water is getting of a higher quality that platypuses are coming back, often quite deep into these suburbs. So wherever you're near water, keep an eye for little splashes, and you might see a little monotreme platypus swimming through the water. They are a bit more nocturnal, so probably daytime is not the best time to see them, but more and more we're seeing more platypuses in the suburbs. That's a great sign. So thanks for coming along. This has been today's nature walk in Melbourne. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next one.